Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And today we have to talk about the future of the Republican Party in terms of why they are losing, why they keep stabbing their constituents in the back, even on the most basic issues, and why this is what is going to doom them in the 2022 midterms if they don't get it together and if we don't get it together. But first, I do have to say we are currently being shadow banned. We have a negative 93% impression advantage rate according to data, so make sure you interact with this video and share it with a friend so we can break that shadow ban and continue to grow the audience here. So no ad today. I didn't want to do an ad on this video. But I will say that last night we had a great stream with three other individuals talking and recapping the whole gay debate that took place yesterday. So I do encourage people to watch the stream if they haven't yet, because I thought it was a very good stream. And I will put the link to the stream from last night in the description for those who did miss it. But now is the time we talk about what took place today and what the House is doing, because the House just expanded background checks. What they're really doing for gun control is creating a national gun registry. And it's not just Democrats. Many Republicans also decided to attach themselves to this bill. 8 Republicans are backing this bill. Now, a couple of these are in fairly blue districts, such as Carlos Jimenez. He represents part of Miami. Okay, it's understandable why he would sign on to it. It's understandable. Maybe you could say Brian Fitzpatrick, because we know he's a rhino at this point. Same thing with Kinzinger. They're very honest about it, and they may lose their primary in the 2022 midterms. But looking through this list, you see Fred Upton representing a fairly conservative district in West Michigan that's actually, historically, even though they may not have liked Trump as much as they've liked past Republicans in that district, they've been very, very pro-gun regardless. Michigan and the Midwest is a very pro-gun area. A lot of people own guns, whether they live up north or whether they live in Detroit and Kalamazoo, because they like to go up north and go hunting and things like that. Guns, in terms of Michigan, a very winning issue for Republicans. And if Republican representatives are going to sit here and vote for the massive gun control package, they're not going to get their voting base out. It doesn't matter that, historical trends favor them. They need to give something to the people, and a base that gets backstabbed so much by one party is not going to keep going back to them. Because again, I don't really have any motivation to go out there and vote for Republican candidates down ballot who don't represent my interests. They have to actually be conservative. They have to have a proven record. And I'm going to talk about the midterms, give a preliminary guide to the types of candidates that you will see try to run here in the 2022 midterms, the fakes, the grifters, the potential grifters, and the people in the no-go zone as well. Because it is important we talk about this, because there is a significant astroturfing campaign that is going on right now, in an attempt to hijack the MAGA movement, in an attempt to put in a bunch of grifters into Congress. Their ads are being, high-quality ads being paid for by the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, Benny Johnson is out there producing these ads, and Conservative Inc. is just throwing their special interests and their donations behind them. These individuals are largely fake populists. Now, the white pill is we're seeing a massive amount of America First candidates running for districts. And like I've said, when you give people weak candidates, when you give them grifters, when you give them rhinos like they did in Georgia for the Senate election, they lose, because the red areas, they don't feel a need to come out and vote. That's not the fault of Lynn Wood. That is the fault of the Republican establishment for not giving the people of rural Georgia a reason to get out and vote. That's really where it all stems from. And in terms of the Tea Party, we saw in 2010, you did see a red wave. However, you saw a lot of people a part of that Tea Party, like Justin Amash, eventually not represent the anti-establishment interests. Again, one of the reasons why he hated Trump so much and left the party was Trump started to hurt his personal interests. He hurt his business with the whole trade war with China. And this is really what it comes down to. A lot of these people in the Tea Party back in 2010 talked a big anti-establishment game, but a lot of them were funded by the Koch brothers, and they really represented the interests of the Koch brothers when they were in office. They didn't represent the interests of the people. And that's really what it comes down to. And you are seeing this AstroTurf wave. Now, it's good that we have a Tea Party energy, obviously. We need that drive against the Biden administration, an authentic drive of anti-globalist sentiment that brought Trump to the forefront in 2016. However, I want candidates like Trump in 2016, not necessarily candidates that pay lip service to Donald Trump, but consistently stand against the interests and principles that made his campaign in 2016 so special, that made his campaign in 2016 so popular. And like I said, there are three types of GOP candidates. You have your rhinos, your establishment, your all-out conservative Inc. individuals, your Fred Uptons, your Carlos Jimenezes, your Adam Kissingers. Obviously, we know those guys are bad, and it's a good thing that, Trump is even working to purge many of them from the party throughout primaries, and that is a very good thing. But there's also a subsect of individuals that I like to call MAGA Inc., because these people will wear a MAGA hat, but they'll repackage the same rhino talking points about how economic freedom is the number one issue. They ignore the cultural issues. They say all immigration is fine, just as long as it's legal. They're looking the other way on these key issues. They don't talk about special interests. They don't talk about free trade. Their main concern revolves around fear-mongering about socialism. Now, listen, I do not like socialism. I know 95% of my audience does not like socialism. I like capitalism. But it's got to be capitalism for Main Street, not global capitalism, not capitalism for Wall Street, not capitalism for the big corporations. That seems to be the problem. And then we have the America First candidates, the authentic candidates here. Paul Gosar is definitely in this category. You could even put, Ron DeSantis and Josh Hawley to a certain extent in this category because they rail against the big corporations. They rail against special interests from a right-wing perspective. They represent cultural right-wing values. This was Donald Trump in 2016 by and large. And you have other candidates that are running this cycle like Jack Lombardi. You have Mike Beland in Texas' second that is going to be running against Dan Crenshaw. But the MAGA Inc. individuals are the most dangerous, like Nancy Mace. They will run on a platform that is pro-Trump. They will tie themselves to Trump. They will rail against the establishment at times, but not completely. They'll still take the big money throughout the process, and then they'll compromise on their principles when they win the primary and when they get into Congress to begin with. I believe Madison Cawthorn is a perfect example of MAGA Inc. He ran on an America First platform, although he did take a lot of big money in donations, and as a result, what you saw was he, deleted the section of his website on immigration and replaced it with a section for foreign aid to other countries. And that's not something we need because that is not America First. People will use the tagline America First because it is popular, and then they will subvert the entire conservative movement when they get into office. They don't represent America First values at all. These people are essentially Marco Rubio in MAGA face, which is at times what Marco Rubio actually is. But that's really beside the point. And a prime example of this took place in Illinois' 16th district. Talking about the authentic candidate, because when it came to Adam Kissinger, he had a primary challenger that was gaining a lot of traction. And that guy's name was Jack Lombardi. And Jack Lombardi railed against the special interests. He's railing against mass immigration and globalism and all of the talking points that the establishment just hates. And then what happens? You see Catalina Lauf, a failed candidate from Illinois' 14th district, literally moves there, carpetbags to that district, and is running against Lombardi and Kinzinger, gets all of this big money, gets a special ad, no trade on her platform, doesn't talk about trade at all. It doesn't touch much on immigration. In fact, when it touches on immigration, it's the whole boomer talking point of legal good, illegal bad. Yeah, that's not what this party needs moving forward. We're letting in 1 million people a year, voting 70 to 30 Democrat. People are not necessarily assimilating at the rate that they should be, and we have a major problem, especially after a pandemic, and American workers need to be put first, and that's what Jack Lombardi believes. But Catalina Lauf, no, she thinks that because there's a little bit of paperwork involved that, it's completely and totally normal. That's not America first. That's not America first at all. And Trump probably will give her his endorsement because she worked for him in the past, and she is that candidate that's being astroturfed by TPUSA and all these other conservative organizations. She doesn't deserve the endorsement. She should go back and run in Illinois' 14th. I had no problem with her if she would run in that district because that is a winnable district for her. That's a district that the Republicans desperately need to win back. However, what we see here is Lauf is deciding to split the vote in the primary. If she does win, it's going to be because she would take votes away from Jack Lombardi. She's very attractive to a certain extent, you could say. And a lot of boomers, I think, would get fooled by her facade. And that's a major, major problem that we have because she does not deserve Trump's endorsement. She is MAGA Inc. through and through. Just because she puts on a MAGA hat and says Trump good doesn't mean that she's America first. Just like Nancy Mace we saw in South Carolina. Am I saying Lauf is necessarily going to be as bad as Mace? I'm not necessarily saying that. But when you have an America first candidate in there who is being spoiled by this conservative effort by Ronna McDaniel and the RNC and all of these other characters that don't care about the American people, that just want people in there that represent the special interests, you're not going to see any positive change in this country. And that's really all it comes down to. So be careful. Who is astroturfing candidates in 2022? Where is the money exactly coming from? Because that's all that matters, and we do have to understand that. Now, is Lauf better than Kinzinger? Yeah, but is that saying a whole lot when she is a carpetbagger who is funded by special interests? Not so much. And it's sad, but that's really the way it is. So I will say this. Any primary challenger supported by Conservative Inc. should be ignored. If Conservative Inc. is propping up primary challengers to people who are also members of Conservative Inc., that's not something we need. We've been through the Tea Party. I don't want an astroturf movement by big business that is designed to facilitate the victory of the swamp, because that's all we see throughout this entire, past 20 years or so. We expect there to be a change in the Republican Party, and it doesn't happen. And Trump's advisors are giving Trump bad intel on the endorsements again, and it's just awful. It is awful. This is the political equivalent of the Lions drafting Joey Harrington in 2002, year after year after year after year, because we don't see any positive change. We keep losing. And the left is steamrolling us on every issue because we don't have authentic fighters. We have controlled opposition, and that needs to change now. And that's the whole point of this video. So be wary. That's the only way we're going to win the future. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, especially Alt Tech. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.